Good morning, and happy Tuesday, April the 1st. I almost said March the 1st, but that could have been a good April Fool's because we're like going back in time.
I know, it's kind of like Donald Trump was saying that tomorrow is going to be Liberation Day due to tariffs.
Which is today?
And I was kind of like, yeah, it's today.
Today's Liberation Day.
Today is many, many things. Today is what? National Cent Day, National 1 Cent Day, Independent Artist Day. That's right. Okay. National Sourdough Bread Day, which I'm also in favor of. I love sourdough bread. Oh. It's National Walking Day, so get off your ass.
Okay, I should do that.
And it's April Fool's Day.
But it's most importantly, I didn't know today, I was out for the count yesterday with just a touch of food poisoning. So I'm kind of getting up to speed with everything.
A touch is plenty.
So if it's a Liberation Day, Ted, I think what the president means is we are going to be liberated from our money.
I think that is true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that means. So
yeah, it's interesting that he said he doesn't care about the price of cars going up. I'm like,
yeah,
no, people are going to care.
People going to be caring, especially since they're not buying Tesla right now.
Although this might be seriously, I don't know if you know this about me, Manila, but I am the king of counterintuitive, right? So if something's reputation is in the toilet, I'm like, now's the fucking time. Tesla,
yes,
go long, buy. I mean, it's at the bottom.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I bought Martha Stewart stock the day she was arrested. One of the best things I ever did. Smart. I was like, that bitch isn't going anywhere. It's like I knew her from college. I went to school with her daughter, and
that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean so it's just like. So, I mean, I kind of look at this stuff and I'm like, yeah, nothing is exactly as it seems, right? Never do what everyone, if you sort of don't know anything, if you're stupid, you don't know anything, just do the opposite of everyone else, go against conventional wisdom. Sometimes they'll be right and you'll be wrong, but in the aggregate, you will win. Conventional wisdom is usually wrong.
That's how I got into real estate right after the bust. When in 2010, when I came back to the U.S., I left the U.S. in January of 2008 because there was obviously the huge recession, right? So I went over to the Middle East, come back, a little over 2 years later, and the real estate bust happened. And I was like, okay, well, now's a good time for me to jump in because
no one else will be there.
So many agents got out.
You'll have it all to yourself.
They were there as short timers, and it was a good time for me to learn. So I learned about
last man standing.
Properties. Yeah. And so I wound up, even though I was some rookie, inexperienced agent, I wound up having just a big book of clients because there just weren't a lot of realtors left in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then,
it's kind of, I'm hoping that's going to work out for cartooning because, there's basically none of us left.
Last cartoonist alive.
Yeah, no, for real. Last cartoonist. Yeah. There's 7 of us left. So.
Wow.
There were 1,800 when I got into it.
Oh my God. Well, if you guys don't know where you're tuned into, this is the TMI Show, the Ted Manila Information Show. That is the Ted of the show, Ted Rall. And I'm Manila Chan, the M of the show. We bring you too much information. We're live Monday
through
Friday.
Who's the I of the show?
Info. Maybe Robbie, because he's like a walking dictionary or walking encyclopedia.
He is actually. That's true.
He really is like, he's
when
like
I die, he can take over my role as useless information czar.
The Snapple Cap King. Yes, that would be you. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow the show wherever you're consuming this. So if you can hit that follow button or the subscribe button on the red one, or join, maybe it's join on YouTube. So we're working real hard because Rumble is doing a new wonderful thing, and we want to take advantage of the opportunities presented to us. So hit that like button, guys, and you will really, really help us grow the show, especially starting today on Liberation Day.
Not to mention, tomorrow is Liberation Day.
No, today's April 1st. I thought today.
No, tomorrow's Liberation Day. I guess he probably wanted to do it April 1st and then thought everyone would make fun of him for doing it on April Fool's Day. But I will tell you also, today is Rachel Maddow's birthday.
Is it?
Happy birthday, Rachel.
How old is she?
Not old enough.
Some early 50s, maybe.
We can find that out. I'm gonna say she's 47. Let's see.
Really? No, I think she's older. Maybe 50.
52.
52, early 50s. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were right.
All right.
And she's from Castro Valley out there, and is that the East Bay? I think it is.
Castro Valley. I don't know that.
Castro Valley, I think it's East Bay of San Francisco Bay Area, if I'm not mistaken.
That's NorCal.
Alameda County.
Yeah, it's. Oh, she's from Alameda. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm no NorCal expert. SoCal, 100%. Go ahead. Let's split up the state. I was one of those people. Like, do it.
It should kind of be 3 states, don't you?
Different culture. Oh yeah.
Because it's also the eastern, like the high Sierras.
Well,
that's a different thing. That's basically that's basically mountainous. It's basically
Idaho.
Yeah, it's
basically Idaho.
It's Wyoming. It's like that. Yeah.
So
I would divide the banana straight down the middle, and then cut it in half, and make 3 states. So northwest, southwest, and eastern California is what I would do.
So a long, skinny strip of eastern California?
Why not Argentina? Argentina is like long and thin. Chile is long and thin,
I think if you chopped it up into thirds, like.
Well, you could also just go. You could quarter it. The Central Valley wouldn't be really. I think it doesn't have enough. It wouldn't be viable as a state.
No, that's not true.
I know they have
Central
agriculture.
Valley is ag, and that's where Kevin McCarthy comes from.
Yeah.
So
well, they would basically
be a big red chunk.
They'd basically be Ukraine of the United States. Just like we grow shit. That's it.
SoCal is the entertainment capital of the world. NorCal is the tech capital, and then the Central Valley is actually the breadbasket of America. Not bread.
That would be true. Mm-hmm.
It's not bread because.
Although these days, I would say 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is the entertainment capital of the world.
Well, that's true too. Anyway, today on the show, I got stuff in my eye that I'm trying to.
God, I hate that. My eyes are watering like a bitch. Second use of the I guess that we don't need to have the warning about the dropping bombs because I've already done 2. The same one twice. I didn't
even notice. Well, the B word's not really. All right. Well,
today you can say that on national television.
Oh yeah, I've heard it even on news shows. Today's guest, we're bringing in somebody I have had on all of my different RT shows over the years. Her name's Kristen Megan. She's a former. She's a retired Air Force veteran. She was an industrial hygienist for 20 plus years. And we're going to talk about like MAHA and the massive layoffs that are happening today.
Is an industrial hygienist like a really mean dental worker?
You could ask her.
Like, no.
That's how they treat you in the military, Ted. They do experiments on the military folk, don't you know?
Oh, they do. I know they do.
This is real. So,
yeah.
That's also how we
especially
got
if you're black.
The liquid Band-Aid that's all on the shelves everywhere at Target, at every pharmacy. So that super glue was invented for that. That's basically the formula that it comes from. Do you know that?
It's funny that you should mention this because I literally just heard something about this like 2 days ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They carried it, in their survival packs. The military did.
Yeah.
In the 40s and 50s, and that's how they sealed up wounds.
They invented the T-shirt, one of my favorite inventions.
The T-shirt.
The T-shirt, yeah, it was just like a simple, like we need something that's easy undergarment for soldiers to be able to take on and off. So the military came up with the T-shirt. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Wow, I got to look into. I've never looked into the history of T-shirt. Anyway,
I mean, I'm sure there are books written about like military technological innovations. I mean, there are so many, right? They had the fax in the 1930s and 40s.
The early days of DARPA. They're inventing cotton T-shirts.
Well, it's actually true, right? It's kind of amazing.
All right, with that, As you can see, we bring you just random information as well. So, all right, with that, let's get into the headlines.
Let's do it. Of course, you remember that Myanmar had a giant earthquake, the biggest in a century, 7.7 on the Richter scale last week. And just after that happened, and I don't know if you've seen, Manila, all the crazy reels that have come out online of collapsing buildings and people running away, and a lot of footage of rooftop hotel pools, like basically splashing from like the 50th floor onto the street below. Anyway, so now it turns out that there's some fighting that's going on. The junta that runs Myanmar, I don't know if it's still got the same name. It did have one of my favorite governing names of all time. It was called the State Law and Order Restoration Council, which is AKA SLORC. I mean, I don't understand. Why does everyone think we're ominous, even though we're called SLORC? SLORC. Anyway, so the junta decided to scramble its jets right after the earthquake, because there were still some buildings standing, so we had to take care of that, kind of like the IDF in Gaza. Anyway, they went after enemy strongholds because there's a civil war that's been going on there ever since the latest military coup that happened 4 years ago. Evacuations have been taking place throughout Southeast Asia, as far away as Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, so on. Anyway, the humanitarian crisis is getting a lot worse than it had been. 3 million plus people have been displaced in fighting alone. That's not even counting the earthquake. The economy also sucks, so everything's rocking in Myanmar. The official death toll so far is 2,700. It's going to keep going up. There's widespread destruction throughout the southeastern Asia's country's second largest city, which is called Mandalay. Modeling by the U.S. Geological Survey says that the estimated economic cost of this catastrophe could exceed Myanmar's entire gross domestic product.
Yeah.
All signs point to many more fatalities as the rescue workers start to go through the remains of all the collapsed structures. Some people are worried that the junta has been losing swaths of territory to ethnic minority groups that could continue to take advantage of the situation now that the government is weakened by the earthquake damage and response. International aid might have trouble getting there too, because obviously the roads kind of suck there to begin with, and they suck. And I know this because I've driven on those roads, or I should say tried to drive on those roads. But anyway, we sort of saw what happened back in Cyclone Nargis in 2008. That killed 100,000 people, and basically it was almost impossible to get any aid in there. So, we'll see what happens. But
bigger question, Ted.
It's going to be a shit show.
Bigger question. Why does Myanmar/Burma, why do they have fighter jets?
Well, why wouldn't they? It's a country.
Like, I know, but like, I mean, what are they using it for?
I just told you what they're using it for.
They're not really
for
part
civil
of,
war.
Only for civil war. So they were just prepped for.
You want them to go after Laos just for fun? I mean, like, hey, we got nothing else to do.
Well, I just feel like if you're going to have, a limited set of resources, that maybe you don't deploy them on 30-year-old MiGs from Russia. I don't know, just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, if you've got, anyway, I mean, self-preservation is the number one goal of any government.
And we should note, Ted, that Myanmar's flag was the inspiration for the TMI Show's logo colors.
That is true. And it's also should be noted that I really love Myanmar. I've been there and I loved it. It was great.
Everywhere.
Everything about it was, so it's really funny because, officially speaking at the time, music was banned. And I've never been anywhere that had more music in my life. It was like a party country. Everybody's just blasting music. But maybe it was like an act of resistance. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah. No, I mean, they're not.
Anyway,
yeah.
We got. I'm surprised more of their ancient temples called Wats. The Wats haven't all been just fallen down. That shows you the structural integrity of like the ancients when they.
Well, they knew where they lived. They knew they lived in a seismic zone. And so they were like, they built accordingly. It's sort of like in Istanbul, Hagia Sophia is the oldest church in Christendom. Now it's a mosque under Erdogan, and anyway, that was built in the 6th century AD in a seismically active zone.
Wow.
It's still standing. Okay, and
Impressive.
It's a monster. It's withstood countless huge earthquakes.
And nobody knows how, just like with Egypt, nobody knows how the ancients got that kind of raw material up the way they did, because even modern day cranes today, Ted, have a hard time taking up certain weight levels to build structures like this that we're looking at now, like towers.
Yeah, there are theories.
Anyway,
there are theories.
I know. That's for a whole other show.
Yeah, it's like, this is like going back to the 70s. It's like Chariots of Fire, like that. What was that thing? Chariot of the Gods. All those conspiracies, or or Leonard Nimoy in Eden
We should move on. I see our guest is waiting patiently in the green room.
Let's do it.
So let's move on.
This one's super interesting to me. Researchers have a blood test that diagnoses Alzheimer's.
I'm gonna go take it.
I'm scared, but I guess I'll take it too.
I'm gonna take it.
Anyway, it's 92% accurate, which is very accurate. This is obviously would accurately diagnose the disease potentially, and it could allow you to tailor your treatments to your individual needs and your individual stage in the disease. So current blood tests only assist in diagnosis. For the most part, when they diagnose you with Alzheimer's, they ask you a bunch of questions. I remember watching my mom's doctor do that for her. It was really sad. But anyway, they just asked her, and it could be like, do you have Alzheimer's, or do you have another form of dementia? Is something else going on that we don't know? And it doesn't answer any of those questions. This new test, however, can distinguish between early and late stage Alzheimer's, and it can also separate it from other kinds of dementia. This looks at levels of your MTBR tau 243. It's a protein that indicates toxic tau accumulation in your brain, which of course is what determines, well, I shouldn't say of course, but that correlates with how severe your Alzheimer's is if you have it. Researchers found that patients with cognitive impairment that was not Alzheimer's show normal levels of the protein, so that's why it distinguishes it. If you have mild cognitive symptoms from Alzheimer's, however, it will trigger the test. And those in the dementia phase have levels of 200 times, as much as 200 times higher. So Alzheimer's currently afflicts about 7 million people in the United States alone, and accumulations of molecules known as amyloid beta plaques and misfolded tau proteins are believed to play a key role. If you do an autopsy on someone who had Alzheimer's, they will see the plaque on their brain.
I would beg that Joe Biden's brain get donated to this study.
Oh, no, that would be great. I mean, yeah.
I would beg to see that for historic and medical purposes, like, because I would still like to know. Even I know
he could have something that's not Alzheimer's.
True, but I'm willing to bet it's this. I'm just willing to bet, because it's the most common affliction of people that age, and I would like someday for them to be able to pinpoint at what stage in his brain that this started changing.
I think
so
it happened.
Contrast it to history.
Honestly, stress can trigger it. And I'm sure after Bo died in 2015, 2016, I think he started to decompensate like 2017, 2018. Just think about the stress from 2017 to 2019 that he went through, right? His son died. His other son, like totally, Hunter, spiraled down into depravity. And dragged him into corrupt business relationships, maybe partly to please Hunter. And also, even if it wasn't for that, he had to be scared that he was going to get caught someday because he was breaking federal law. I mean, he must have been under, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for him in general, because he's a cock. He's really a cock. But the point is, and he always was. But
yes.
But I mean, anyone who disagrees with this should just go watch the HBO show Confirmation about the Anita Hill hearings, and you see Greg Kinnear play an amazing Senator Joe Biden during those the Clarence Thomas hearings, and you see what a dick he was, So
that's a real.
This whole idea that Biden was ever a nice person is just like ridiculous.
That's all fiction.
A kindly national grandfather.
I would argue that Joe Biden could have been down the path of Alzheimer's or another kind of dementia already when Bo died, and it probably got progressively worse. So arguably you can say that he was an old man that didn't know what was happening as Hunter dragged him into, all these dirty business dealings. But anyway,
And finally, before we begin our guest, Virginia Giuffre, Giuffre, my apologies.
Giuffre.
She is a prominent person who accused Jeffrey Epstein. You might remember the famous photo of her with her high-waisted pants with Prince Andrew, who was like 50 million years older than her. Anyway, she says on Instagram that she was in a car that got hit by a bus in Australia, and she has days to live. In the post, she showed a picture of herself covered with bruises all over her face. She said, I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, not 3, not 5.
Precise.
However, the authorities say maybe not so much. She said that a bus driving 68 miles an hour hit her as it was slowing for a turn. I mean, God,
she was slowing for a turn.
It was no, it says as it was slowing for a turn.
No.
As her car. Okay, all right.
Her car, yeah.
How does she know a bus was going 68 miles an hour?
I don't know. There's a lot of holes to this
that
story.
School bus must have been hauling ass. I wish my bus driver had been like that. Anyway, we don't know where the accident occurred, but the cops in Western Australia say there was a minor collision between a car and a bus near Perth back on March 24th, saying that the car sustained about $1,250 worth of damage. That's kind of like basically a fender bender. There were no reported injuries. A source with knowledge of the situation, whatever that means, told CNN that Miss Giuffre is an inpatient at a Perth hospital, but she's not in any danger of losing her life. She does have the bruising, but at this stage, the hospital has not said what actually caused those injuries. So I don't really know. I don't understand this story, actually, to be honest.
Yeah. I've got all kinds of tinfoil hat theories around her upcoming disappearance. It could be a disappearing act. It could be a lot of things. I'm not saying she wasn't in some sort of accident, or maybe.
Do you think she lied about Epstein and Prince Andrew?
No, but there's all kinds
that's the implication when someone who was an accuser is caught lying. It's like that's the implication.
No.
And by the way, some people bruise.
My implication is that other people. First of all, the pictures.
Some people bruise ridiculously a lot. I mean, honestly,
no.
She
might
have just smacked the windshield, and that would be it.
Some medical experts I know told me that when you have internal bleeding, that you can see brown bruising like this. And in fact, we can ask our guest to weigh in on that as well when she pops on, because she has worked in the medical field, so she's probably seen injuries like this. But from my understanding, that you can have internal bleeding that would cause the pigmentation of the bruising to be brown. But my tinfoil hat theory is not that she's lying. I think she's absolutely telling the truth about Epstein and Prince Andrew and all of that.
What if it turned out one day that Epstein was innocent?
Doubt it. I would say somebody maybe wants her disappeared. So I think
but she could just say that, right?
That's for a different show. Although, is she being hyperbolic, saying you have exactly 4 days left to live? I mean, maybe the doctors in Perth are so superior to American doctors that they can pinpoint it down to like, you have 82 hours and 30 seconds left.
Well, it's also weird though. She's still in the hospital. They kept her. I mean, I don't know if in Australia, like here, they kick you out as soon as you've had like your cancer surgery. They kick you out like 3 seconds later. But like, I don't know. But if it's
after
anything
I had my double mastectomy, I went home the same day.
That's insane. I feel like you should have been there like a week afterwards just to keep tabs on you and make sure everything was cool.
Once I woke up, and I'm slow to wake up from sedatives. Once I woke up and not even well, somebody could have easily just been like, I'm with Manila, and walked me out of the hospital. I have no idea how. No idea, but I was out of the hospital. Turnover. It's like waitressing.
It is. It's like, so she's still in the hospital, so that would seem to indicate, by at least American standards, which is not what we're talking about here, that she definitely sustained some kind of real injuries, right?
So I don't know. I mean, this is a hospital bed that she's in, but that's for a whole different show, Ted. We'll see if by Friday, Miss Giuffre and if she is injured and very, hurt,
or dead.
I wish her well, or dead. I hope she doesn't die. Obviously, she's only 41 years old. She's a young woman.
I mean, maybe also she's spinning out because of the trauma of what happened to her by Epstein and the media attention and all that.
Yeah, I'm team Virginia, so I hope that whatever she was Instagramming is some weird, drug-induced
Let's hope so.
post.
So, that could be too. Painkillers will make you loopy.
Oh yeah. Woo, loopy.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll end the news there, and we'll introduce our guest. How about it? Let's get the jaws.
Okay, so joining us to talk about RFK Jr.'s and the pickle that he's in is Kristen Megan. She's a senior industrial hygienist and environmental specialist with 21 years of experience. She's a U.S. Air Force veteran where she became a whistleblower and activist, and she's been an expert witness on OSHA-related cases. We're here, Kristen, to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services, is presiding over mass layoffs. I assume that the order to do these mass layoffs comes really from, not from him directly, but it's from Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But he wants to make America healthy again. He wants to reform school food safety rules, tackle chronic disease. But how's he going to do that with if you fire 3,500 out of 10,000 workers, or if you shrink the total workforce from 82,000 to 62,000? How are you going to do more with less?
Oh, well, first off, is my audio okay before I go on a rant?
You sound good.
Okay. So I worked for the federal government for 12 years. 9 of it was on active duty, and the rest of it was inside of a VA hospital, a very large hospital. But I've had my fair share of inspecting federal agencies due to the nature of my profession. And when I heard that DOGE was first coming in, I was really excited. And on a different issue, I feel like the VA is going to be the biggest one to tackle as far as waste, fraud, and abuse. But when it comes to understanding, reducing these agencies and kind of combining them into smaller, more absorbed agencies is the best thing to have the better outcome, because more does not equal better. And when you look at the federal government, I've told people this. I'm like, there are more government employees in this country than private. And people didn't believe that until they start to hear how some agencies exist that they've never heard of. When it comes to the health aspect, what you're seeing is money is being funneled in, and that leads to the confusion or the false sense of an idea that you're going to have better outcomes of finding root causes in health. But all this extra funding has done, all the creation of new jobs, which by the way is 3 to 1. What I mean is they have 3 people for 1 job. That's how the federal government works. And that's where you've heard the term, it takes an act of Congress to fire a federal employee, because I'm not saying that they're all lazy and that they're all not working to their best. But if you want a cake job, go work for the federal government. So I'm really excited about this, because what the media, this shouldn't be a political issue, but the media on the left, what they do is, it reminds me of those videos where you've seen people throw themselves in front of a vehicle and then freak out like they just got hit. That's what they do with these headlines. They want to make you think Medicaid and Medicare is going to be harder. We're not going to get the outcomes for people who need food assistance, all these different issues. And what happens is you're going to have better direct care, better communication, because you are going to force people to have to fight for their jobs in a non-overworked way, if that makes sense. They're actually going to be doing things that they were hired to do. And having worked in the federal government, I have to say there's really good people who were probably waiting for this moment. And they have been handcuffed and purposely handicapped to where they couldn't do their job. And if anyone has listened to what RFK Jr. has said, this is not going to remove the people that have hands on patients, the people that are doing the studies, the scientists. It's the administrators, it's the bureaucrats, it's the people that are spending money for organizations that they get backed funnel money in from. It's such a web. I'm like one of those people that puts up tax and attaches the strings. When I talk about the waste, fraud, and abuse and the bloat in government, I think people think I talk about taxation, because taxation to theft was in my wedding vows. But it's not. It's the health aspect. And I think the first rabbit hole people have to go into is how many organizations exist to look for a cure for cancer. And then the second that you talk about benbenzenol and ivermectin having somewhat of potential in helping aid with getting rid of cancer, it's demonized. So this is not about health and safety. What this is about historically is funding the pockets of the benefactors that are writing the bills, lobbying for certain products. I mean, it's for a whole nother day, but just to give you an example, I wish they had included the VA in some of this, in the fact that how many people know that the VA actually profits off of handing out opioids to veterans, even though they have these programs where they try to, stray away from addiction? And that is because the goal is to get you inside of the methadone clinic, which is the synthetic form of an opioid. And then they get it from a federal extra supply, and then they get third-party reimbursement to profit off of it. So when I used to tell people in the media for years that we need to overhaul the health aspects of our government, people just thought it was nuts. But I'm on my vindication tour right now. Sorry to be
Yeah.
long-winded, but
No,
I'm
no,
so passionate about
that's good.
this.
No, I know that's why I had to tap you because full disclosure, I've known Kristen for almost 10 years, and I often tapped her to be on my shows at RT because she's like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this area. It is her expertise, and because she's been on the government side of this as well as having blown the whistle on it, so I thought she would be perfect for this segment. So as Kennedy says, he said that over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38% and its staffing increased by 17%. So, him going from 82,000 full-time employees being reduced to 62,000, I mean, we're looking at roughly a 20 something percent cut, right? It's kind of maybe going back to the equilibrium before Biden. And as we know, Biden was creating slush funds for every sector, every agency that you can imagine, which is what we found out during the USAID cuts. And we found out that everything became a slush fund. So, with regard to that, I'm with you 100%. But my concern is now that he is trimming, not trimming the doctors and, the MD part of this, but trimming a lot of the workers. What about the people that work at OSHA, the people that, this is your area of expertise also. What about all of those people who are going to go check job sites and make sure workers aren't being abused, aren't being exposed to toxic chemicals? I mean, if you're chopping a lot of the people that are not the medical professionals themselves, what about those people who are, they're not the doctors? If they're caught up in the, 20,000 people that are let go, what does that do for public safety in the terms of, regular working class people?
Not to mention also bureaucrats sometimes support doctors, right? Like they
Mhm.
arrange scheduling and so on.
Take him on golf trips. Yes.
Well, whatever's important.
There's that
So
too.
that was a great question. And first, remember that around 10,000 employees accepted the buyout. Does everyone remember how they were asked, take this buyout, the settlement, and you can leave early? And I believe around 10,000 people did. But
Mhm.
when it comes to OSHA, man, we talked about that face value. It's scary when you think about reducing the workforce for OSHA or even NIOSH, which is one of the agencies that RFK wants to loop into the new agency. I think it's the AHA.
Oh,
NIOSH is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and NIOSH is who determines the limitations of personal protective equipment and other controls, and then gives that data to OSHA. And why did I say that? For the past 4.5 years, and still to this day, OSHA is not in the business of health and safety. OSHA has not put their own standards, their own science out in the forefront in protecting not just people think OSHA is just for occupational, like in the workplace. No, OSHA is a public health agency that tracks total worker health. Think about it for a moment. Where do you spend most of your time? If it's not in your workplace, it's someone else's, right? But
yeah.
where were they throughout the past 4 years when they were purposely pushing improper control methods, illegally citing businesses that were actually avoiding creating a greater hazard through some of these ridiculous mandates? I think OSHA should absolutely be
Can you
privatized.
can you give us an example of one of these mandates?
Absolutely. The mask mandates. So the mask mandates, just before COVID, before the pandemic, if I ever, as a senior industrial hygienist who worked in healthcare for many years, if I put the healthcare workers in a mask for an aerosolized virus, that would have been an OSHA citation. And I gave talks and speeches on this and actually pulled up the former OSHA citations. And why is that? Because when OSHA comes into a workplace and performs a risk assessment or is inspecting the programs, usually it's to audit someone like me to make sure I'm doing my job.
Oh.
They look at, for example, when I went to go work at a VA hospital, the IH before me had every single employee enrolled in the respiratory protection program. Let me tell you that Martha in billing does not need to wear a respirator. So I had to go and do health risk assessments and put people in exposure groups. So if OSHA had come in, actually, even though you think I'm doing something good, going above and beyond, they would have cited me and said, where is your health risk assessment? Where's your job safety analysis that determined this employee needs to be in a respirator? And by the way, if you have them in a respirator or mask, why did you bypass the other control methods? So visualize up for a moment an upside down pyramid. It is called the hierarchy of safety and controls. So think for COVID, once we knew it was an aerosolized infectious disease that is inhaled into the deep lung. At the very top is engineering controls. Did our government emphasize on that? Absolutely not. Not till 3 years later, they wanted us to worry about indoor air quality. So if you've ever had surgery, which sounds like you have, and you're wheeled into that OR, it is cold and you have a lot of positive pressure coming in your face if you're still awake. And that is because those are engineering controls where you increase air exchanges and you cool the air, you damper relative humidity, and you increase those air exchanges to get the aerosols out of the breathing zone. Hospitals are one of the most safest places with engineering controls. So why are we putting face diapers that do not seal and create a greater harm in our breeding ground for bacteria when we had respiratory protection called powered air purifying respirators, which are the only respirators on the market rated for infectious aerosols? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. No,
that's interesting.
So OSHA was pushing these improper mandates and then even had the gall to send me a demand letter to stop claiming false credentials. So incredibly insane because I'm trained by OSHA and was a government employee under their job code. So OSHA, my whole point is if they're cut down, oh my gosh, it is going to make sure that you are not getting bureaucrats inside of these agencies. I have seen industrial hygienists literally promote PPE that they own that are not NIOSH rated. There's so much waste, fraud, and abuse in my profession.
Okay.
So when you bring that up, I feel like we could talk about it for 3 hours because, like I said, OSHA's job is to protect human health under total worker health, and they absolutely abandoned their own principles. It's the equivalent of malpractice if this was a doctor putting out wrong exposure controls. And it was just infuriating to those of us that were trained and personally managed the respiratory protection programs for about 80,000 employees. So I know OSHA standards when it comes to a pandemic. Like
it sounds
second
like
nature.
It sounds like the stuff that Kennedy has said before when he was still campaigning for Trump about agency capture.
Yes, regulatory capture, absolutely. And EPA is just as guilty. And it's kind of crazy that the main agencies that are guilty of this regulatory capture are the agencies that are designed to protect human health and environmental health. So when you have NIH, the CDC, OSHA, EPA, let's just hope that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission doesn't participate in kind of forgetting all the science that exists under their agency. But you're exactly right. It is the regulatory capture. And that is my biggest gripe. And I have been calling out these people for the past 4.5 years. Because it's hard. Imagine being someone now in the private sector who's a consultant and telling you that multiple government agencies are absolutely doing their job wrong. It's hard to sell that to a judge as an expert witness, but I have, because they didn't scrub everything from the internet before they started to try to change their internal policies.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question about, MAHA. So what do you think is going on with RFK Jr.? I mean, this administration has hit the ground running very, very fast on a lot of issues, right? I mean, tariffs are right out of the gate, major move on the Russo-Ukrainian conflict to try to bring that in for a landing. But we haven't heard really boo from HHS or from RFK. There's been no executive orders related to, for example, food or product safety. Is that just because this is it's so complicated that they want to make sure that they have all their, I's dotted and their T's crossed before they issue new regulations, or is it because they're kind of just busy figuring out, how the phones work and everything? I remember when H.R. Haldeman wrote his memoirs of the first Nixon year in the first administration, that basically said, "Oh, we didn't have anything, we didn't do anything for a year. We were just trying to figure out how the government worked."
You're exactly right in the fact that things do not happen overnight. And I know in recent interviews, Bobby has said when Doge came in, they came in with an org chart. And unlike when we see bills passed in Congress, I think time is being taken to actually read and do research so that when these cuts are made, they are done so with just like in the avenue of informed consent. They're not just willy-nilly nixing positions or people. I think they're going through and they're actually looking at the ROI of certain positions or what is wrong and maybe sitting down. I know if I was going over to take over an agency, I would be interviewing certain employees from the
Yeah,
bottom
that's
to
not
the
the
top.
impression we're getting, though, at least from other departments, right? The reporting, and I think a lot of it's credible, is that there's not been interviews. It's been very haphazard. There's even been federal
Well, that's
employees who
Doge
were fired, and
directly,
then
though.
it was like, oh, we need them, and let's rehire
But
them.
that's Doge doing it directly
Right,
in a Silicon Valley style slash and burn,
right.
right? But now we're coming to Bobby Kennedy's HHS, and to Kristen's point, I feel like there is a little more deliberation when it comes to this particular thing because America truly is in a health crisis, right? Like obesity is off the charts. Like 3/4 of our
Hmm.
society is obese. And we know that,
Life
when it comes to
expectancy is declining for the first time
COVID,
ever.
obesity was like the main comorbidity was obesity. And then of course pre-existing and age, all that stuff. But obesity was like the
Heart
paramount
disease,
problem.
opioids. Yeah, we have a lot of
Also,
problems
yeah.
in
So,
this
I mean,
country.
I feel like that's why we're not seeing more press around Bobby Kennedy's or agency at this point, but not
Yeah.
yet. Soon, I think.
I mean, normally when a government agency fires a lot of people, it leads to chaos, right? And historically that's been the case. I still remember the air traffic controllers being fired. The air traffic system didn't recover from that for 15 years. Every flight was ridiculously late throughout the 1980s. It's only like really things started to turn around in the 90s. So it's like, so I think people just sort of are looking at this and they're like, oh God, they're firing everybody. When I call an agency, they're not going to pick up the phone now. And we're getting reports like that from the IRS and Social Security. And I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like people don't, it's sort of like it's hard for them to distinguish what's going on at HHS as being different from what's going on at other departments.
Well, I kind of have a multifaceted answer here, and that is anything government is always less efficient. And the only agency that I can say has the best customer service I've ever experienced is the passport agency, where you're not treated like a number and they truly care about getting you your passport. But you have to remember, like, I'm the type of person I say just remove your emotions to view objections clearly,
Right.
because
Totally.
at the end of the day, working for the federal government, being a veteran working for the federal government does not protect you from losing your job. I live in the state of Michigan. You can be fired for any reason without cause. And for some reason, we put federal employees on this pedestal. And I can tell you, I think if people really went in and looked, you get some of the worst worth ethic in the federal government. And that's not a blanket. There are good people, but you know
Yeah.
who leaves are your good people because they make more money in the
Yes.
private sector. They're tired of reporting thing up their chain. There's so much cover up of bad behavior, criminal
Yes.
activity. I mean, I have just what I saw 12 years working for the federal government. But I want to go back to what your original question was about why. I know because behind the scenes, there's things I know, things that I was asked. I declined some things. We're just going to be really vague. I don't ever want to work for the federal government again, but I am aware of who is trying to get in. And I think they need the new people in there also. And so there's still hiring happening. So you're not going to see the big changes that everyone wants on day one. But
Yeah.
just 3 or 4 days ago, when Kennedy announced this, I felt he was pretty bold. He was basically saying, listen, we've looked at this. He even talked about how going in as the new secretary, information was hidden from him. The things that are being done to hide data. So I hate to use the term guns ablazing, but I mean that in a positive way. You got to go in there and you got to rip off the Band-Aid. And I'll tell you right now, if I call Medicare for my mom or I call the VA, I'm already going to be on hold talking to an electronic person for about 5 to 10 minutes and usually don't even get the prompt that I want. So I'm telling you, when you do a reduction of force in the federal government, having been part of the federal government when there was a reduction in force, the work ethic goes up. I don't know if that's a mental accountability thing or it frees up space for people. You might have somebody who is a total rock star in their profession, but because maybe of their political leanings or some reason they wanted to do something good, they were held back, purposely handicapped. Those people now will be able to flourish. It's no different than the education system. How many people want to bash public schools? Mine goes to a private school, but people bash public schools and realize it's not necessarily the teachers. The teachers should be able to teach. Instead, they're teaching to test. So again, it's the same with the workforce that is in this part of the MAHA movement. What is it called? The American, what's this new agency called? Agency for Healthy Americans, I believe is what it's called.
Oh yeah, the AHA. Yeah.
So just watch.
At least
watch
it's not
and
the.
see.
I hope it's not the '80s band.
AHA. I like them. Don't hate on them, Ted.
I just say, I should definitely come back on here 1 year from now and let's do an update because
back.
I am telling you, it is going to be so much better because you've got to get the lobbyists and the bureaucrats hands out of this. They literally hold the remote control for everything that is happening in these health agencies.
Yeah, there's a lot of hands in the HHS pot, a lot. And to your point, Kristen, about how a lot of the good workers who would ordinarily leave because they're hamstrung. I mean, I have lots of inside connections with people who are still are still feds today. And I know some people who were just laid off today at the SES level. But there's performance things. There's, what are you actually delivering? What is the point of your job other than the government creating these made up positions that are above a GS-15? Like what do you actually do other than oversee other managers who are already managing at the GS-15 level? So that's, kind of inside baseball, but I am able to see all of this because I know a lot of people. I've lived here for more than 10 years. I know a lot. And like you said, you cannot throw a stone in any neighborhood in Northern Virginia and not hit a Fed. Like that's where I live, right? So you just throw a rock, knock on any door. Chances are you're gonna meet a Fed that lives there. If you're within the Northern Virginia limits of driving into DC, everybody works at the federal government here, and sometimes I'm kind of like, well, what do you do? Like what?
You know what I just visualized when you said that? Do you remember the scene from Edward Scissorhands? How everyone backs out of their driveway at the same time?
Yes.
It's kind of like that's what's going to happen when they have to return to work because I'm not going to knock working from home. I work from home, but I also work for myself. So I'll call HR.
Freedom. Yeah.
But not everyone has the drive. I mean, you even see like joking TikToks of people connecting their mouse to a fan because of that software that tracks, are you working? So for some people, they're go-getters, especially people on the spectrum that don't want the distractions.
There are people that want to keep the status quo, Kristen.
Yes. But there are good people that work from home, but there's also a lot of people that work from home.
I know. And I've seen and heard the complaints firsthand. I've been witness to catching some people that way. But there's no RT program for me to say this live, as it's breaking anymore. So, but here we are, we're talking about it. The last couple of minutes, we can kind of talk about, I think, the whole reason MAHA gained traction in the first place. I think, and like I said, I've known you for almost 10 years. We have seen a huge shift in public awareness of the shit food that we put out there that our children are eating, the shit food that the adults are eating. I mean, look at now in the span of 10 years, people in our age group, right? they are coming down with like colon cancer at a higher rate than ever. And there's no other explanation other than to say it's our food supply. And I think that's what made the MAHA movement really just gain traction and just get fire when it conveyed its, support base to Donald Trump. And this is what the MAHA people want. The Bobby Kennedy supporters, this is what they want. Even if they don't support Donald Trump, they tacitly support him because this is their thing, MAHA. And I feel like we're gonna see a big shift in how people recognize the toxic system, the actual system of our food supply in and of itself. And I think it's going to be exposed in the coming 4 years. What do you think?
Is this a real movement though? I mean, because here's the question. I mean, I'm going to just say it like, okay, so red America is in worse health than blue America, right? Flyover country, red states, people, they're heavier, they have more heart disease, they have higher, they die younger. So it's kind of like my impression of the MAHA thing was this was RFK's thing. And it was coalition building to get RFK onto to join and endorse Trump. There were negotiations, and this is obviously near and dear to RFK. So when and I feel like he brought this to Trump, and it was not something that I don't really think middle America who voted Republican that they really cared that much about this issue. For them, they were more about inflation and the border crisis and all this. It seems, I mean, am I wrong? I mean, it seems to me like people who are caring about healthy food, they tend to be liberal. They tend to shop at Whole Foods. They tend to be living on the coasts. They're hippy dippy people living in Oregon. They're not like living in Wisconsin in the cheese curd belt.
But that's the thing is the liberals have politicized it and turned it into a red blue argument rather than an everybody across America argument. That
I agree that everybody should care about this. I'm just
wondering if they do.
But they were also the
first to get in line for an experimental injection. Whereas this is so MAHA, yes, I know that's the acronym, but take away MAHA, there's been a health freedom movement because I've worked in it for 18 years. And it's not, that side is not political because the thing is that women now, more and more women are having infertility issues. More and more women are having like breast cancers, ovarian cancer, cervical cancers, and low libido at an age that you shouldn't. And it's not just the food. It's the endocrine disruptors. And because
and men are suffering from infertility.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yes. And
part of the reason that we have a fertility crisis in this country. Yeah.
Yeah. And, go back to the whole atrazine thing. People can joke about Alex Jones saying the frogs are gay, but there are chemicals that our wastewater treatment facilities cannot field out. I
had a crazy awakening. My ex-wife presided over a water talk in Suffolk County, New York. And they explained that just sort of like, it was like an aside, right? It's like one of those things where you go and you attend something and it's just like something that just sort of is barely mentioned, like totally blows you away. So they said that the water supply in Suffolk County, which is Eastern Long Island, not very densely populated compared to the New York metro area, it's like it was full of antipsychotic drugs, right? Like Prozac type stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, how did that happen? It's like, well, people flush them down the toilet. I don't get that. I don't know why you don't just like, so this part was crazy to me.
Sell it on the black market.
The Suffolk County
cabinet for 20 years.
Police, like I do. So Suffolk County, they established to try to resolve this problem. They created a kind of ill-conceived program to try to address it. They encouraged people instead of dumping your pills down the toilet. I'm like, just throw them in the garbage. But anyway, instead of doing that, bring them by your local police precinct, and we'll take care of it. You will have a special drop box, right? So you're asking people to go to a police station. I mean, that's an uncomfortable place for even law-abiding citizens to go to. I'm always nervous when I walk into one of those places, and I have nothing to fear. It's like, so not that many people did it. Long story short, 1-year program, they took in, wait for it, 8 tons of pharmaceuticals. Now think about how much one pill weighs, right? I mean, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an ounce. And it's like They took in, and it was not a well-publicized program. There were no billboards.
Weird.
It wasn't advertised in the newspaper. I mean, that's crazy.
So
I
why
mean,
didn't they continue it then?
oh, because I don't know. They may have continued it. My point wasn't, that's not the point. The point is, I did a deep dive into this, and I'm like, we're all medicated. We're all on Soma, like that,
Yeah, oh yeah.
from your
Well,
drinking water. It might be one of the reasons there hasn't been a real like left-wing movement since the 60s, because we're all doped up and,
but, like, even if you just drop it in the trash can. So in this case, if it's going in the toilet,
it can end up in the groundwater. Yeah.
It becomes groundwater. I was just going to say it'll leach into the ground. There has to be a better way to dispose of all of these SSRI drugs that are clearly, I think, making people.
And that's only one small problem.
Besides the fluoride in the water, every municipality, like when they do the water treatment plant stuff, they're not treating for SSRIs or other. They're not treating for that stuff. So it's like, this is why water purification is so good.
Well, there's neutralizing technologies for hazardous waste disposal and P&U listed waste disposal. That's controlled substances and inside of healthcare. There's neutralizing things that can be done. So as much as I don't like the government being the solution, I would much rather the government take these things in. I know I just went to like a local clerk's office and I saw one of those turn in your med bin. So at least in Michigan, it's in other places than just the police station. But yeah, and the thing is also one thing to tackle, the thing about all these federal agencies, the number one thing that they are horrible at is messaging. So they'll like put out guidance without any, like, they wear a mask, but they didn't tell you, change it out every time you touch it, be clean shaven, don't have COPD or asthma. Like they didn't tell
learn how to put it on. Nobody ever really, if you could even get an N95. And then think
about when they give you meds. I mean, when you go to get meds, they tell you don't drink on this, don't take this. But do they tell you how to dispose of it? I just had a massive surgery and not a single person told me what to do with my meds or anything. Now I know, but I sell them. No, just kidding.
Everybody's medicine cabinets are full of leftover meds.
I save them for a Whitmer speech, and then I just pop a bunch of Norco.
I save them for a rainy day, but it's amazing how, I mean, look, Ted and I have talked about this over and over and over. One of the things I would love for MAHA to flip is the availability of antibiotics over the counter, because most European countries and Mexico, and not Canada not until recently, but you used to be able to get it over the counter in Canada. You can still get all kinds, like every kind of antibiotic you can think of, you can get in over the counter in Mexico. Like every time I go to Mexico, that's one of the places I hit up, is to make sure that I can bring home with me a little bit of antibiotics just in case, because I know when I need an antibiotic, I don't need to go.
What are you doing in Mexico that you need an antibiotic?
No, I just go there. I go there on vacation, and then I'm like, oh, it's
for later
here. I'm gonna buy. Yeah, you save it for later.
It's the same. It's like yeah.
I totally get it.
I get bronchitis all the time, and I'm like, I know my deal. I'm 61 years old. It's like it's the same routine. It's like, oh, it's bronchitis. I need a Z-Pack. That's it.
Exactly.
It's what happens every time. Do I really need to go to the doctor? Do I really need to pay a fee? Really need to pay a copay? Like, no, I just need that Z-Pack.
You really have to leave your house while you're actively sick to infect other people in the waiting room?
Thank you.
For example.
Exactly.
When I should just be at home in bed.
Right.
So yeah, it's stupid.
Also, I think that, I think we have massive overuse antibiotics in our country, and it does have its purpose, but there's a really good documentary called Resistance. Everyone should watch it because it's also in food. But I also think we need to have fair education on choices. I'll just share something with you really quick. I know we're short on time. I just had massive leg surgery, active duty related, calf and foot. Anyway, I ended up with two blood clots in my leg. And that's because I have Raynaud's. I have bad circulation. So I'm on an injectable anticoagulant, but then my functional medicine doctor is like, take these 2 Japanese supplements, beetroot powder, bromelain. Just so you know, it takes usually about 3 months for blood clots to go away. I dissolved one of them in 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently these have been used for years for women who have fibroids. So maybe it's hokey because people are using it as a spike protein detox, but I did it. It worked. And it should be my choice. And also, I shouldn't have to pay for it because I'm using it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many things I buy, I wonder, why is this not a prescription, at least to where my insurance will cover it, because
Oh God.
I
Oh my
need
gosh.
it.
Insurance and the whole United Health thing is a
We have
whole
some breaking
other
news, by the way, about this
topic.
exact topic. It just popped over. So at the NIH, the five of the top leaders have just been put on leave. And rather hilariously or cruelly, depending on how you look at it, they've been offered reassignment. They don't have to, they can get new job. Their reassignment would be to either, their choices are Alaska, Billings, Montana, the Navajo Nation, or Oklahoma.
Hey, that's good.
Well, I don't like Oklahoma. I lived there 5 years. But you know what's good about that is that they're going to be replaced by people who are passionate about the job that they're taking on. And also, regardless of politics, didn't even realize I had an AirPod in. I'm wearing AirPods. Also, a part of this is complacency. I can't tell you how many times I've worked somewhere in the government and someone's been there for 30 years. And I watch them come out just to get caught. I don't even know what they did. So complacency is also a big problem. When you've worked somewhere for 20 plus years, you lose eyes. That's why you bring in third-party auditors like Doge to help you. When I worked at the VA, we hired third-party auditors to come check my work. And we found a couple discrepancies. It's because you get complacent. So getting new sets of eyes, and it's no different than when a new president comes in and they want different people. There's always going to be a rotation. The problem is, the last time that Trump got voted in, he admitted he didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
And he should have definitely made some changes. But then again, when you have people in your ear that are risk averse, or people in your ear that are actually benefactors elsewhere, it happens on both sides. But I think the goal at the end of the day is to stop politicizing health. This should not be a left or right divide. I'm very much in the middle. I hate everybody. No, but
yes, that's right. I'm with you.
I just want science to be continued to be verified. Stop making everything biblical that is pharmaceutical, because there are natural things that are better, especially for me. I have ADHD. I do methylene blue with L-theanine. It works for me and I can think. So there's other things that I would take rather than Ritalin. And I'm not judging people that do, or Adderall, but I also do deep dive.
Different things work for different people.
And I'm a scientist, so I can read the studies. I'm not just Dr. Google. You know, my background is toxicology. So I just do my own research for my body and my human and genetic factors. And I wish what this new agency would do is put power back in the hands of the people to learn their own human and genetic factors. Half the country has an MTHFR mutation and doesn't realize they can't methylate B vitamins, and they're so malnourished that leads to other issues. And then they're on heart meds.
I take methylated vitamins just because.
Yeah. So we can make America healthy again just by getting people to understand it's not one size fits all. Nothing.
The one thing I really want RFK to do, and I've said this a number of times, would be a game changer, is to adapt the EU standards for food in stores. I mean,
I'd love
EU
that.
standards. I mean, when you go there, you just feel better. You just by eating.
I went to Geneva, ate pasta and pizza, and I came back 4 pounds lighter.
Yep.
There you go.
I go to France. I eat
everything with
rich
butter,
creamery butter on top of a
everyone smokes
giant
there too,
steak.
so I don't know which it is.
I know they
smoke,
they drink wine all day, and they don't have the same cancer levels as Americans. So it's like, what is happening here? Like, I don't get.
This is why I need my insurance to cover my red wine from from Costco.
That's exactly my wish list. If I could throw something out to Bobby Kennedy, would be if there was a way to put downward pressure on insurance companies to force them to accept, like some insurances do, to accept and adopt coverage towards like Eastern, or what they would consider
like acupuncture is now accepted,
Yeah, some places do acupuncture. I've had insurances that cover acupuncture. Some will take, you can go to these, Eastern medicine doctors that'll give you the herbs and give you, write up, homeopathy as a remedy. But most insurances will not cover those. So most of the time, if you go see a Chinese herbalist, it's out of your pocket, and because insurance is incentivized to keep you sick, to keep you buying more drugs.
Maybe Trump should pardon Luigi and hire him at HHS.
Oh, Lord. But I think you just said the quiet part out loud. it's not about keeping you healthy, because if it was, and they covered, every insurance covered even biomimetic dentistry or functional medicine or naturopathic medicine. If you could take your insurance and go get it, even if it worked and you are a human walking RCT, how does that benefit your insurance company? And when you recognize that your insurance company and hospitals are not there for actually healing you, they're for profit, it's not a conspiracy. I
Yeah.
worked in healthcare for 12 years. They're all about bed turnovers. So,
Yep.
are there people that work in these agencies that really do care about health? Absolutely.
Of
And
course.
those are the people that we need to be pushed to the forefront. And if you allowed your insurance company, and just think about it for a second, you got bad teeth, you go to a biomimetic dentist, they save your teeth rather than all these crowns and issues, and the
Mhm.
word spreads and everyone goes to this type of care. The old school care ways of things is not going to get funded. And I think that's what
Yeah.
these old guard lobbyists and bureaucrats are afraid of. But the tides
It's
are definitely
entrenched.
turning because this younger generation is listening to these. There's doctors, surgeons, holistic people on TikTok. That's where they
Yeah.
get their news and their test
It
patient
is changing.
testimonials.
I'm hoping that's like on my wish list for Bobby Kennedy's HHS is like to put pressure on the insurance companies to shift gears a little bit. And before we let you go, I we were talking about this as you were coming in. Um, just I want you to
Dementia? No.
eyeball. I want you to take an eyeball to Virginia Giuffre
Yeah.
and her injuries. I mean,
Mm.
you were in a VA hospital. I'm sure you have seen people with all kinds of injuries. Do, does any of this look consistent to you of being hit by a bus when you're turning in your car? You're turning left or right, or I don't know which way she was turning, but she's in her car. She gets hit by a school bus, she says, going like 70 miles an hour. I don't know how that happens, but it allegedly happened by a school bus, she says. And now she says she's dying in like, I guess at this point, 72 hours.
Mhm.
Um, are these the ramblings of a woman that's like chock full of pain meds in the hospital? Because you could see the hospital bed behind her there, like the buttons and stuff.
Well,
Is that what that is?
I'm
Or
obviously not a medical examiner, but I know a lot about the human body and types of bruising, and we look around the orbital socket of her eye, it is red and it is purplish, not brown. It's the ones on the cheekbone that are brown. And when bruises turn brown, it's because it's the later stage of the body absorbing the blood back. So
Mm.
the ones on her cheek seem older than the one around the eye. And I'm not one to sit back and Monday morning quarterback, but when you said she's hip, it just reminds me of the Karen Reed trial. I don't know if you know about that.
mm,
A woman's being accused of hitting a man with her car, and the injuries just don't add up. But
oh,
it just seems strange to me. If one, I can't see the rest of her body, but I don't
right.
know why if she's hit at that speed, she'd have breaks, she'd have green and blue bruising. Also, I heard it's internal, like liver, kidney failure or something. But
Yeah.
if were there people on this bus? I just feel like you would have heard or a traffic camera, something. But I'm like
Yeah.
you. I think it's possibly she could be getting ready to go into hiding or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But as far as, I heard you earlier, is brown indicative of internal bleeding? Most likely no. It's at in the latent stage of healing. And I'm not going to show my foot on air, but trust me, I'm going through this. We'd have to take donations. No. But it is usually late stage bruising. So, but I really hope
Yeah,
she's okay. I do believe her story.
I do too.
It does seem a little out of it though. But then again, if you went sort of into that sort of trauma, I can't imagine what that does to a person.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kinda what
No,
I
I
was saying
don't know.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope she doesn't die in the next 3 days. I mean, she's only 41, a lot of life
Mm.
left to live, and the trauma, which I believe her Epstein, stories and Prince Andrew, I believe her. I'm not even a Me Too person, and I've, said this publicly, like, I am not a Me Tooer at all. But her story seems corroborated by enough, and this poor woman has been through a lot, so I really hope that she doesn't die in the next few days because, we're still waiting on AG Pam Bondi to release the files, but, you
Yeah.
know, what a weird story to post on your Instagram if you are dying.
Well, also, how many people posted it and didn't question it?
Yeah,
I just
I
saw everyone, share it as like it's a matter of fact, and it's not
Right.
like an attack towards her, but like
No.
like
No.
I said, have we seen the police report? Have we seen,
There's
anytime there's a near miss with with a bus, it's usually somewhere on TikTok or
right.
Instagram
The
reels.
bus, what we were saying in the story is the local police in Perth told CNN that they have a report. The
Okay.
only thing they'll corroborate is they have a report that there was a car getting in a small wreck with a school bus. They didn't acknowledge the speed as being, high rate of speed or anything. They said it was a minor accident that was probably like a fender bender, like $1,200 worth US dollars worth of damage. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if that could be bruising that is from an airbag, but
Right.
yeah, something doesn't seem right. And again, that's not levying judgment towards her, but she could
No.
definitely have been on something, or I don't know, drank a lot of water that had SSRIs. I don't know, but
Yeah, we don't
I wish
know.
her well, and I hope that whatever did happen, maybe she was also told something, and while she was medicated, she just gave it a
Right.
mile,
Right.
So
Right. I like putting on my conspiracy theory hat, tinfoil hat, every now and again. And just because of how high profile she is, who she's attached to, her name,
yeah,
being tied to uh, British royals, being tied to Epstein, being tied to Ghislaine Maxwell. My tinfoil hat theory is this seems like a woman that's getting prepared to disappear, just vanish off the face of the earth. And it seems like she's, posting something about going through a divorce and losing her kids. To me, unless there's a body, there's no death. Um, the same way that we didn't really see Epstein's whole body, we didn't see there's
mhm.
no there. Same thing with like John McAfee. But this is not news lady Manila talking. This is like Manila questioning the headlines,
You forgot
real Manila.
Tupac.
Where I'm like,
No.
Tupac, there's that's starting to finally come apart, the whole story. So it's taken 25 or 27 years at this point,
Yeah.
but maybe it'll take that long for the Epstein story. But I don't know what's happening with Virginia Giuffre, but I figured I'd ask you since you've been. I don't hang out at hospitals, so I don't, I don't know. I don't know what things are supposed to look like when you get injured, but the whole story seems a little strange. And I'll give her a little grace by saying I have been looped up on pain meds, not that long ago. And boy, the things I said.
Yeah, right? Well, the only thing that just a scenario out there, a lot of the people, that got the COVID vaccine have in fact, experienced some health issues. And in fact, when I got blood clots, I had to proclaim that I never got it because it's so common now. But if
Mm.
somebody is on a blood thinner and they have any sort of impact trauma, they definitely are more likely to have internal bleeding and damage to
Oh,
organs. So in the event
interesting.
she had she's on some sort of blood thinner, a little minor I bruise so easily right now, and if I was to be in a car accident, I've already been lectured on this, falling, I risk internal bleeding of vital organs and the stomach, so you have to be careful. Being on a blood thinner isn't just, "Oh, you scratch yourself and you bleed out."
Right.
It's you have to worry about your organs, so that is another, factor, but I do
Hmm.
agree, it doesn't pass the smell test, but I doubt she pulled an Amber Heard and put bruises on her face,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
something's not right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way.
They don't make
No,
that
no, I don't.
contact
It
anymore,
might be
no.
more of a question of when than what, really, right?
Right. I just hope
Yeah.
I hope she's okay and she's still with us in 72 hours because it's kinda hard to predict a fatal outcome, especially when she's conscious, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very weird. So that's something I'm definitely watching too. But anyway, that's not the reason we brought you on. I just thought you could weigh in because you've seen way more hospital patients than I've ever seen. So
I've seen a
thought
lot of things I don't wanna see too, no.
yeah, I imagine. Kristen, Megan, thank you as always for popping in and weighing in on some serious stuff. Kristen Megan is a senior industrial hygienist and environmental specialist with 21 years experience. She's a U.S. Air Force veteran where she became a whistleblower and then later an activist. And she has served as an expert witness on OSHA-related cases and
And
other cases
EPA,
as
yep.
well. EPA. Tell us where people can find you, find your work. Give yourself a plug on all the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, so you can find me on X just at Kristen Megan, and I work with an organization called WeThePatriotsUSA.org, a nonprofit that stands up for God-given constitutional and natural rights, not just related to health freedom, but property rights, uh, parental rights. So just go check out WeThePatriotsUSA.org. Just note that anything that I've said, my views are my own, but I support this organization because they are nonpartisan and are willing to help any and everyone that's been wronged. And there's been a lot of that over the past 4 years.
Yeah, very good. Cool stuff. Thank you so much, Kristen. I hope we'll be able to bring you back. I know you're traveling soon, so I'll see you on the other side of your trip.
Yeah, if I got my compression stockings because I have one little clot left. So,
Oh boy.
yeah. All right.
Thank
Well, you
you,
guys
Kristen.
take care.
Maybe drive to the first trip.
Well, I can. It's a long drive, but
Oh, well.
I have pimp status with United, so I'm in the first class with my little leg thing. So yeah.
Well, you get to board first, right? Just show up in a wheelchair with your
but I don't
compression
like being on there longer than I need to be. So
Fair enough. Kristen, thank you so much. I'll see you again soon.
all right, take
Bye,
care.
Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so good stuff. I mean, there's good and bad with the whole MAHA cuts, or not MAHA cuts, but HHS cuts. And I, again, having inside knowledge of how all of this stuff is panning out, it's going to be chaos and it's going to suck ass unless you like sucking ass, but sucking ass, it's going to suck ass for a little bit. And then when the dust settles, people are going to reacclimate to the new reality, and we'll go from there. But I can attest to what Kristen said about a lot of the bloat and a lot of how good people are hamstrung because of the bureaucracy from streamlining. Because it's almost, Ted, it's almost as if there are federal workers in place that want to keep the status quo of slow going, nothing, doing nothing.
Yeah, it's it's not a
phone.
big secret that working for the government is not exactly the path for super ambitious people, right? I mean,
Correct.
Obviously, and that's okay. I mean, there's a lot to be said for the chill civil service approach.
Slow and steady.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, it's not like if you're super excited and making big changes fast, that's not the place.
Well, don't forget, there's still a slew of those people that come in every year. The churn, like the young people come in and then the system grinds the shit out of you because you're fighting the machine, and you realize you can't make changes, and then you become part of the machine. That's usually how it happens. Again, I have insider knowledge on this, and you see people just get grinded down. So
yes, you do.
We will see. I guess we'll give it a year and see what happens, Ted. We'll let the cards fall where they may, but hopefully, especially to the communities that need it, the Medicare, Medicaid people, the most vulnerable, I hope the people in those agencies don't let up, because it's already bad as it is. Jesus. Anyway, that's going to do it for Ted and I. I am Manila Chan. That's Ted Rall. You're watching the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show. We'll be back again tomorrow at Hump Day. We'll be talking to an actual MD tomorrow, I think.
Oh, we will? Okay. Who?
Yeah, I'm adding Robbie. Robbie?
Howdy. Yeah, so no, it's going to be a internal medicine doctor who is also a public speaker, Dr. Gloria Isami. I cannot pronounce her name.
She goes by Dr. Gloria.
Yep, that's the best I can do.
Gloria, Gloria.
She'll be on. And also, I am pleased to announce, I don't know if this is something that y'all want to do or not, but as y'all kind of mentioned earlier, we are kind of working on getting into the Rumble content creator program here with the TMI Show. And Rumble has just sent us, as a nice little gift here, our very first sponsorship, if y'all would like for me to read it.
Is it? Wait, so let me guess. It's going to be from the Flamethrower Drone Corporation.
It's going to be coffee.
Close. It's from Mike Huckabee.
Oh.
The former governor of Arkansas or Kansas.
Yeah, and arch
And he used to
Zionist
be very, very
and
obese.
supporter of genocide. And yeah,
Is it
so
like is it like is the sponsor? Is it like fuckthepalestinians.com or what is it?
very similar. So I will leave this to y'all. Rumble is throwing us this crumb. However, comma, I want y'all to know where this bloody lucre is coming from.
Let's hear.
All right.
Okay,
So
we just because we're reading the ad does not mean we support what the ad
Obviously.
correct.
is
What
promoted.
Also,
Correct.
this is where you're going to find out how hoary I am. If the money is right, I don't care if it's from like, the
Huckabee.
kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Like, hey, send us your journalists to chop them
Ted,
up.
you whore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is, I mean, I'm
It's
very
capitalism.
thankful.
I mean, who cares? No, as to quote Sid Vicious, no one is innocent. Right?
Well, hey, I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. I'm
Fair.
thankful that Rumble's giving us this opportunity. I mean,
Well,
it is
let's
nice.
For
For
those
those of you who are watching,
Let's
I
hear.
mean,
Okay.
Let's hear what
hear it.
Governor Huckabee
yeah. So
has to say.
okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Just 1 second here.
An ad for Mike Huckabee.
Hey, here it is. For the parents out there, I'm sure by now you're familiar with the Kids Guide, co-founder by Mike Huckabee. The Kids Guide wants to know whether or not you approve of Doge. Please take a minute to head over to dogechoice.com. That is DOGECHOICE.com right now and cast your vote and see how more than 15,000 other parents who've already voted about Doge feel. Remember, vote at dogechoice.com.
Not to be confused with chodechoice.com.
Correct. Whether you choose yes or no in the Kids Guide, Doge poll, when you visit dogechoice.com, you'll be thanked with a free gift bundle featuring 2 Kids Guides. You'll get the Kids Guide on President Trump and the Kids Guide to Elon Musk, both free.
The
So
Kids Guide to Donald Trump has got to be like, I love propaganda art. I have like literally the Kid's Guide to Adolf Hitler from
Hey,
like
dude, you're screwing up.
1936.
Hey, you're
Awesome.
screwing up our
You're
ad
screwing up
read.
the ad, Ted.
We are going to get completely. You are screwing us out of our pennies.
You got to
sir.
do the ad
How
read.
dare
Ted.
you? Let me do the ad
keep
read
going.
first, then you react. So we'll
All
see how this goes. So Mario, straight up approve this. So your kids can learn how they're using Doge to slash government waste. Remember, visit dogechoice.com to cast your vote, and you'll get a free gift bundle for your kids. That's DOGECHOICE.com.
All right, we get the idea here. You don't have to spell
Doge
the whole
Choice.
thing over and
Hey,
over.
no, it says to.
You have to read. That's how ad
what they
reads
say.
I know,
work,
but
Ted.
we're not doing it right now, are we?
Yeah, right now that's what
That
we're
was
doing.
it.
I
You-
just
this
did
is-
it. I just
this-
submitted
That's
it.
our first ad read.
That's
that-
our very first ad.
Oh, I thought you were giving us a choice.
No.
No, I'm telling you.
Oh, I apologize. I'm an
Rumble
idiot.
just
I thought you were. This is like sort of like this mission. Should you choose to accept it?
Oh no.
Oh no,
We've
No, I'm
chosen
sure-
it.
no, it is the one mission that Rumble gave us.
What?
And then you just proceeded just to kick me in the balls, sir, while I'm reading this ad.
Well, I didn't know that.
Kowalski himself. I know he watches the show. Chris, I know you watch the show. He called me on my phone and said, "Hey, Robbie, aka Putinbot, read this because I want to hook you up with some of that Rumble dough."
How much are we getting for this?
I have no idea because you just talk completely over the entire ad.
Is it all fucked up?
Possibly, we'll figure it out.
All right,
So
we can do
so
it
the
again.
next
Probably
time that they
shouldn't curse around the ad.
it's probably a good idea, but the next time though that we get an ad, I will let you know, and then Ted, I will encourage you to save your commentary after.
STFU. Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah,
We have to tell the audience this message brought to you by, and then you.
I see. Yeah, because I didn't realize this was like real. I thought you were just.
No, brother, it is real. If you jump over on the Rumble feed right now, the new pinned comment is help your kids learn how President Trump and Elon Musk are upgrading America with this free gift bundle. So now, I mean, it is there. I mean,
okay, I didn't know.
I mean, y'all, this is what I'm telling y'all. Rumble is actually investing in the TMI show. I kid y'all not.
Yeah,
And
there's a major
it's a
announcement coming up soon. Yeah. Toward
Okay.
that end. Yeah, when is that happening? Do we know?
We are currently in the process. So for those of you who are if y'all tune in on Saturday on a little test show, y'all kind of know what's going on. We are.
It's embarrassing how well that did too. All we were
Well, people
we're
like
just fucking around, like trying to get things to work.
people like that kind of
watch
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Behind
just
the
like
scenes.
Maybe we
behind
should
the
just like have like a live cam of like Clovis sleeping on the radiator.
hey, I mean,
It would
whatever
do well.
works. Yeah, but no, I mean, seriously though, I mean, Rumble's is investing in the TMI show, and that is freaking huge. So what they're doing, we're going
And we are
through
appreciative.
and applying for the content creator program here on Rumble. We should get approved by the end of the month. Basically, we just have to stream 30 hours through the Rumble studio. So what we're doing is I'm stealing the YouTube channel, restreaming it here. And so that's why the show is a little bit late. That's because I had to wait for the YouTube stream to start. But no, it's working. It's all fine.
No,
It's us.
magicians don't tell all of their methods.
Listen,
Rob.
we already told them on Saturday what we were doing. We already let
They were
them know.
watching us fumble around live.
Clovis went out of the bag and he just let everybody know. But the point is that Rumble is stepping up, and they are giving us the opportunity to allow them to invest in the show, which is huge.
Big props to Rumble, because you guys know how I
seriously,
feel.
thank you, Rumble, and thank you, Governor
You guys know how I
Huckabee.
feel about Rumble.
A grateful New York salutes you.
Yeah, very much so. Yes, I mean,
I personally will be looking forward to my Kid's Guide to.
Hey, I'm seriously. I mean, for those of you who are not able
reading
to,
level.
well, for those of you who aren't able to contribute to the show, I mean, there's no way you can help. Click no, like, share. That all helps. I mean, then whenever we do these ad reads, go visit the advertisers that's investing in us. It costs you nothing.
You just click on it. Yeah, if you just
that's all
click
you
on
gotta
it.
do.
Because
Yeah,
does that mean we have to
click
post
in,
it in the
click
bio?
out, be gone.
Yeah, that's it.
No one's
Does that mean we have to post like a link in our show description?
I've already done it. It's all done. That's what I'm saying. Is that Rumble?
So that's how you.
Studio,
Yeah.
They do. They just integrate it all in. It just pins in the show notes, and it's pinned there as a comment. You go there, click on the link, do the survey. Yeah, I love Elon. No, I hate Elon. Yeah, I love Trump. No, I hate Trump. Who cares? Get your free gift. Get your propaganda art. Send it to Ted. He'll appreciate it. Add it to his collection.
Ted collects them.
And we'll call it.
That's true, actually.
And it doesn't smell like the blood of Palestinian children.
No.
I assume.
Probably it's only printed with it.
Here's breaking news. Since I brought up, I summoned Luigi's name and Pam Bondi. Breaking news: Agent Pam Bondi directs federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione for the killing of the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah, no, Rumble is
disgusting.
I'm just reading the comments right now. Adrian, no, you're right. I mean, Rumble is really stepping up supporting free speech with the show. I mean, I cannot thank them enough.
No, seriously, I'm not good at like when people are nice to me. I'm not really used to it, so I don't really know how to.
Well, you're a New Yorker. You're suspicious. Like, what the
true?
Fuck is this?
Yeah, and I was beaten as a child, abused in school. So now I'm like, wait.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, this is one hand. Well, keep in mind, this is one hand.
What are you up to, really?
Well, I'll tell you right now, but Rumble's it's very obvious because we are streaming to 7 platforms right now. And here I am doing an ad read for Rumble that people on Odyssey and Twitch and YouTube are able to see. And then I'm able to go in and tell everyone who's watching on Facebook and everywhere else how awesome Rumble is for getting behind the TMI show and supporting the two of you who don't have a job.
Yeah.
So what does that do? That incentivizes people to come over to Rumble. By the way, I'm going to go and plug myself right here. I am in the content creator program on Rumble with Putin Bot Gaming. Come follow my channel. Watch a video.
Woo-hoo.
Come it fly helps. With me.
Do it. Be with your favorite Russian bot with a southern accent in Montana.
That's right. Well,
all right.
With that, we'll leave that there. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. And hopefully we can finally start making some real dough.
Salutes you.
Well, one thing I'm going to point out, Manila and Ted, most likely from what I'm getting from one of my friends, is we should be getting one, maybe 2 ad reads on every show. I think we just stick to
awesome.
one. But the fact that they are sending stuff our way.
I promise not to fuck up the next one.
Well, it's okay.
This show brought to you by
Rumble, the free speech alternative to YouTube.
That's right.
But we still love you, YouTube,
thank you, Robbie.
But not as much.
Yeah, not as much.
You're like sort of like the ugly stepsister.
No one's fantasizing about boning the ugly stepsister, Ted.
No. Well, they shouldn't be. I mean, some people are weird. I had this friend, and we're going to go. I had this friend in college. His kink was ugly girls. So
What?
he was the best wingman ever. So we would go to parties.
He would take one for the team, and it's not taking one for the team.
Oh,
it's
no,
his preference.
he'd totally be like, it'd be like, there'd be two, and he'd be like, oh God, like that one, she's so pretty. Like, you take that shit. Like,
God.
I'll take the moo cow. And they'd be like, really? Like, you sure? Like, I'm willing. Like, you took the moo cow last time.
Was he a
like,
bad
I
looking
want
guy?
the moo cow. He'd be, I'd be like, how was it?
No, was
she
he-
was great. She was
Was
even
he a
uglier with her
bad-looking
clothes off. What?
God. Was he a bad looking guy?
No, I'd say he was slightly above average. Yeah.
Oh,
Like a 6.
well, some people,
And funny. He was
that's
very
their
funny.
thing. Oh, well, some
Yeah.
people, that's their thing.
Yeah,
You know?
that was his kink. Not hardly the weirdest kink I've
I don't know
known
if it's a
someone to have,
kink.
but definitely
I don't know if it's a
unusual.
kink, but
It's
very
actually a great
forgiving.
kink to have, right? Because it's totally like it's like this classmate of my kid when I think they were like 5 or 6, and in class it's like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said, I want to be a servant. And
What?
I was like, she's so lucky. I mean, like, just think about it.
What?
Like, if you want to be an astronaut, you're probably not going to be able to achieve that. But if that's your ambition, you set the bar really low. Like, I want to be a servant. It's like, you're probably going to be able to accomplish that. I mean, I'm not even kidding. That's great. I mean, she's liberated. If she grew up and she kept that, she's happy today. She's a happy, successful servant.
Like, as in a housemaid, or
Well, she wasn't clear on that. And so
server?
I was like, it's a very 19th century way to
Right.
put it. I was like, well, what kind of servant?
Like
I
a
mean,
live-in servant?
I mean, you
for
could say,
wealthy
in a way,
master?
we're all servants to someone, right? I mean, but
Yeah.
I think the impression I got, but this is just my own 19th century baggage, was thinking, oh, she means like she wants to be a house cleaner or something. But I didn't know. I don't know what she meant.
Hmm.
I didn't delve into it. I just thought it was
Different
hilarious.
strokes for different folks. Like, God bless that little girl, because she's probably 20 now. I wonder what she's doing.
Yeah.
Maybe never went to college like your son, and because you don't necessarily need to go to college to be a servant.
Probably not. Yeah.
She's earning more money than your son, Ted.
That's probably, yeah, that's almost certainly true. Although he does work.
Oh, well, good for, I didn't know that. Good on him. Going to school and
he's in the burgeoning food service industry.
being a servant.
He is kind of a servant. Yeah. Yeah. He works at a Mexican restaurant. Yeah. We will not say more than that.
Yum. Okay.
Yeah.
With
I
we'll
love
be back
my
again.
Mexican food. I could eat that every day. No problem.
Me too. That's what I miss most about SoCal. The yummy Mexican food. Ugh.
Oh, that's so true. Even the food trucks are so good.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, man, don't. I shouldn't think about that right now, given my issues from yesterday. So,
Yeah, probably
land foods only.
Yeah,
Macaroni, soup, chicken
toast,
noodle.
toast, white toast.
That's. I had English muffins yesterday.
Oh, perfect.
Dry English muffins.
Yeah, those are
The way
good.
God intended it.
Yep, that's right.
All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for being here. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Wednesday, hump day. Adios, amigos.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.